Years ago, I found this quote about fathers. And the title of this quote is Putting Daddy Back on the Pedestal. Men are always left out of things, kuno. When he is born, mother gets the flowers. When he is married, the bride is the main attraction. When he becomes a father, the mother and the child gets all the attention. And when he dies, his widow gets all the sympathy. Men are always left out of things, you know. But this afternoon, as we celebrate Father's Day here in our church, Ictus Next Gen, it's time to put Daddy back on the pedestal. You know, it's not easy to be a dad. It's not easy to be a father. Hindi mahapos ang manging tatay. In the Bible, we can find a lot of stories about fathers. And it is very interesting that even fathers who walked with God also failed. Also failed in one way or another. God assigned fathers not only to be the head of the wife, but also to be the leaders of the family, to be the leaders of the wife, and to be the leaders of the children. The one who provides, the one who leads, the one who guides, the one who disciplines when needed and called for, and many more other responsibilities and expectations. And so it is not easy, my friend, to be a father. Sometimes along the way, even with good intentions, fathers also make mistakes. Fathers also make mistakes as they apply their basic rules in disciplining their children. And this afternoon, as we celebrate Father's Day here in our church at Ictus Next Gen, I would like to talk on the top mistakes. The top mistakes that fathers make or parents make. The top mistakes that fathers make or parents make as they apply their basic rules as fathers in their family. As we celebrate Father's Day, the title of my message this afternoon is Our Father who are not in heaven. And I would like to speak about the top mistakes that fathers make, that most parents make, especially fathers, as they do their parenting role. And as we go through these top mistakes, it is my prayer as well that we will see ourselves. As fathers, we will see ourselves in these mistakes, and hopefully we can start correcting them. We can start to correct them in our time, and if not in our time, in the next generation. And so what are these mistakes that fathers make in their parenting role? This is not in order, but one of the top mistakes that fathers make as they apply their role as fathers in the family, especially in disciplining their children, is this: losing their temper. One classic example of this in the Bible, in the Old Testament, is the life of King Saul. King Saul is the first king of the nation of Israel. He was a good king. In fact, he was handpicked by God Himself. But the problem is, along the way, King Saul had a worst case of anger management problem. And all of this came to a tipping point when he got jealous of David. He knew that David was gaining popularity with the people and with the military. And even his own son, Jonathan, whom he is grooming to be the next king, now sided with King David. And in one of his heated confrontation with Jonathan, found in 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 30 and verse 33, this is what happened. Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse and rebellious woman, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse to your own shame, and to the shame of the mother who bore you?" And Saul hurled his spear at him to kill his own son Jonathan. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David as well. You see, my friends, a lot of not so good things can happen when we lose our temper especially when we are disciplining our children, when we lose our temper, our facial expression changes, we start to raise our voice, and in applying corporal punishment, we have the tendency to get overboard if we will not be careful. This is the problem of losing our temper. Now as a father, maybe you are here and you are a father, or maybe you are here and you are a single mom, or maybe you are here and you are a wife of an OFW, overseas Filipino worker, or a seaman, and most of the time you stand as the father and as the mother of your kids. Can you recall a time when you bordered with physical abuse? Can you recall a time when you bordered with physical abuse, when you applied corporal punishment just because you lose your temper? My friends, when the Bible encourages us to apply corporal punishment to break the will of a stubborn child, the Bible clearly teaches you spare the rod and you will what? You spare the rod and you will what? Spoil the child. That's in the book of Proverbs. The Bible, the Word of God, encourages us to apply corporal punishment in a biblical way. Hindi niya malain mag-spank sa bata. It's not wrong to spank a child as long as you know your boundaries. In fact, even in spanking a child, there is a specific size of the rod. Ang rod ko doon mga amuni kadako or amuni kadako, as big as this. Strong enough to cause some kind of physical hurt, but not big enough to cause, to break a bone, to break a bone. So while the Bible encourages us to apply corporal punishment to break the will of a stubborn child, we must be very careful. We must be very careful not to do so at the height of our anger, otherwise we will resort to physical abuse. Again, when we are not careful, when we discipline our children at the height of our anger, we can send a message that the best way to settle our conflict is to raise our voice or to use physical force. My friends, this is the danger of losing our temper. And this is one of the top mistakes that most of us fathers make when we discipline our children. So, what can we learn out of this mistake? If we are going to make a lesson plan in losing our temper, what lesson plan can we make to correct this in our time and in the future generation? My friends, don't discipline your children when you are angry. Ayos lang Don't discipline your children when you are angry. Give yourself a break for at least 10 to 15 minutes and then regroup. I have shared this one time with one of the parent or with one of the father. Kapala sa ako niya, pero hindi pastor. Hindi niya manghanot niya kung aktual bila. Pagbalik ko kayo sa dula, iniya ang momentum, idula, iniya ang pick up. Daig niya ko namang hanot kung, But you know what? Again, when we discipline our children at the height, of our anger, we always have this tendency of losing our temper and border to physical abuse. And so one of the lessons that we can have, at least as fathers in the future, if we're going to avoid the same mistake, is don't discipline your children when you are at the height of your anger. When you are angry, give yourself a break for at least 10 to 15 minutes and then go back. First one is losing our temper. Another top mistakes that fathers make is comparing one child with another. Comparing one child from the other can be done either directly or indirectly. Directly comparing a child with one another can be done in words or giving of favors. direct comparison can be done, for example, this way. For example, you have guests in your house, you have guests in your home, and you call your children to introduce them to your guests, and you say something like this. You know, this is my son. He is top of his class, and you know, he is also a very good football player. He plays good in computer and so on and so forth, and you say all the compliments that you can say about your son. This is my second child. She is also doing well in school. She also tops her class, and she's not as good as her kuya, but she's also very talented. She dances and she sings very well. And then you call the rest of the children and you say something like this. This is my fourth son. You know what? I don't know what happened, but among the 5 children, he's like the black sheep in the family. And you are telling them, you are telling this in front of your children and in the hearing of your fourth child, whom you are calling, black sheep, for whatever reasons. No, comparing your children can be done directly this way. And you know what, my friends, it can do a lot of hurt. It can do a lot of damage that may affect the positive future of the child. I have a friend, and he is also a pastor. And before him, there were 5 of them in the family. The eldest is a boy, the second is a boy. He's the middler, and the next 2 are ladies. And in the past, when they were growing up, ang pinakamagulang, the eldest son is a boy, and handsome. The father is a lawyer, and the eldest son also took Bachelor of Laws while they were in college. The second son is also a boy, and also very good looking. And since they were a Christian family, the eldest son took up law. The next son took up the pastorate, took up Bachelor of Theology. After 2 sons, the parents are now expecting, a girl. After 2 boys, they're now expecting a girl. And when the mother got pregnant, they're really expecting a girl. In fact, they were expecting a girl this time that they started to buy a girl's clothes and girl's things for the next baby. But the one who came up is not a girl, but another boy. And it didn't took a year. And the mother got pregnant again. And this time it's what? Guess what? It's a girl. And this time it's a girl. And so, 2 boys, he's the middler, he's also a boy, and now having a girl, all the attention, the gap between him and the younger sister is, I think, only 11 months. It's less than a year. In Ilonggo, we call it nasundan. It's only 11 months. It's less than a year. And so guess what? Having a girl this time drew all the attention of not only both the parents, but also the 2 what? The 2 boys before him. And he grew up very negative. Because even when his mother, even when he was just in his mother's womb, he felt already unwanted. Because they are expecting for a girl, while, in reality, he was a boy. And growing up in the family, he is always compared. He is always compared to, to 2 of his older brothers. And he would say something like this whenever they would have guests in their homes. The mother would call 3 of them boys, and the mother would say things like this. This is my eldest son. Guapo no. Handsome no. And then another, this is my another son. Good looking as well no. And this is my 3rd son. Like itsura yan no. He looks different. And so whenever they would have guests in their household, he would run away. Whenever they would have guests in their household, he would run away. He doesn't, want to hear statements just like this. Now he is also a father. And I just don't know how he runs his family growing up in a family just like this. You know, it's really hard for him to pick up the pieces. Comparing can be direct or indirectly. Indirect comparison can be done by leaving out one from the others or punishing one more than the other when we exercise discipline. This is what happened to David and his brothers. When God commanded Samuel to go to Ramah to anoint the next king of Israel after Saul, the Lord led him to the family of Jesse because the Lord told him, I want you to anoint one of Jesse's sons, whom I will be telling you. And Jesse started to line up his sons before Samuel. The first one, the Lord said, no, it is not him. The second one, no, the second son was tall, handsome as well, also serving in the military. But the Lord said to Samuel, no, it's not the first one, it's not the second one either. Samuel, watch out. God said, for man looks at, man looks at in the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. The one whom I will be choosing as the next king of Israel is not among them. And Jesse lined up his 7 sons before Samuel, and the Lord told Samuel, no, he's not among these 7 sons. Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verses 10 to 11. But Samuel said to him, the Lord has not chosen this. And so he asked Jesse, are these all the sons you have? And that's the only time. Can you imagine? That's the only time that Jesse remembered that he still had another son. There is still the youngest, Jesse answered. He is tending the sheep. And Samuel said, call him, send for him, because we will not sit down until he arrives. In the Filipino culture, most of the time, the youngest daughter or the youngest child gets all the attention. But not so in the case of David. I don't know what happened, but not so in the case of David. When Jesse called all his sons to present him before Samuel, that hopefully Samuel will anoint one of them, hopefully one of his 7 sons serving in the military, will be anointed the next king of Israel, he forgot his youngest child. And again, as I studied the life of David, as you will be studying the life of David, you will later learn that at one time when Jesse asked him to do some errands for his brothers, Jesse had another boy watch and tend the sheep. So in other words, maka-afford man lang galing sila mag-hire some shepherd if they want to. But for some reasons, while the other guys are doing what they want to do with their lives, David was handpicked to what? To shepherd the sheep. One of the lowliest job in Israel. But all contrast of all contrast, the one who served as a shepherd in one of the lowliest job in Israel was the one who was chosen the next king of Israel. Let me ask you. Doon ka budlining ang question, but as a parent, do you also have this tendency to have a favorite? It's kind of personal, you don't have to answer me. But, as a father or as a parent, do you also have this tendency to have, in quotation, a favorite among your children? Especially if they perform better in school, or if they have extra talents when you compare them with their other siblings. My term is tendency. Tendency to compare. Tendency to have a favorite. Either directly or indirectly. When our kids are both growing up, I have 2 kids, one 13-year-old and a girl, 13-year-old, and a boy, 9-year-old. when they were both growing up, there was a time in their growing up years where they always quarrel. Away lang, pirmi nga, away nga, away lang, away. And in one of my conversation with Manong Imel Diaz, we shared this with him. Ano na yung amon bata man, kabataan man. Pirmi lang sila talaga away. They always quarrel, they always fight each other. And Manong Imel said, will you examine how you treat both of them? Are you fair and are you just in treating both of them? Anyway, we only have 2 kids. Alam nga naman may paborito kapag sobra naman. Doon lang imo bata, hindi man daw fair man, hindi maguro, fair man kami, daw equal man ang amon treatment na amon man. Can you just stop for a while and think about it? Think how you deal with both of your kids. Kag nag-post kami, kag sinamon, maybe sometime or even most of the time, we are not aware of it, but we spend so much time with Tuto than with Inday. Because our youngest child, a boy, very affectionate siya. Mahilig siya mag-usik-usik, mag-halukadol. Inday is also very affectionate, but Inday is not so expressive compared with Tuto. And maybe because youngest child siya, and she also expresses her affection and his emotion physically, may tendency kami nga ang amon attention atuman permi sa iya and not so with Inday. And when we became conscious of it, and we started to balance how we deal with both of them. Anyway, there are only 2 of them. Nag-stop sila away. And they also start to love each other and give attention to each other. And so maybe along the way, unconsciously, we as parents, especially me as father, have been biased as well in dealing with our children. If you are here this afternoon and you are a father, if you have only 1 child, wala pa na problema. But if you have 2 or more children, do you also have this tendency to compare one with the other? And to give some kind of special attention or preference to the one compared to the other? This is one of the top mistakes that we as parents, most especially as fathers, needs to know and need to avoid. What lesson can we learn out of this? Examine how you deal and treat your children. Are you fair and are you just as you claim to be? Just something for us to think about. Just something for us to think about. Another top mistake that fathers make is inconsistency. Inconsistency. I cannot find a direct verse in the Bible about an inconsistent father. But most of us have been inconsistent either consciously or unconsciously, directly or indirectly when it comes to the discipline of our children. And it can be in a lot of form. For example, let me give you some examples of consistency. For example, cursing or cussing. There are households who doesn't want to hear their children, hearing their children making curses, or cussing. And as a young boy, kung nabatian mo yung bata, ano mo yayaw, you get his attention and you discipline him in whatever form, one way or another. But sometimes your young boy can also hear you cussing or cursing. So your young boy finds you very what? Very inconsistent. Or sometimes, whenever you hear your young boy, cursing or cussing in private, you discipline him. But whenever you are with friends and your young boy curses, you find it cute. You find it cute, and all of your friends, including you, also laugh at the boy. And your friends would tell you, pre, grabe, bata pa lang, tribli naman mo yayaw, no? Ate, pre, tigas na yas, good niya sa ako niya. And your young boy finds it very inconsistent when sometimes you discipline him with cussing or with cursing privately, but sometimes you praises him whenever he cusses publicly, especially when you are, when you are with your friends. Inconsistency. Another is playing against, his mom. Part of being inconsistent is that when you disagree with your spouse in the mode of discipline, you discipline your child and your child would run to the mother and the mother would take the child and would protect the child against the father. It's just like having good guy, bad guy, relationship in the home. Medyo good lining. The father, the children are confused and find both of you parents inconsistent because it is not good, not right with the dad, but it's just good and all right with the mom. So inconsistency, especially in applying discipline. Another is, again, not saying sorry. We teach our children to say sorry when they do something bad or when they do something wrong. But sometimes we as fathers, having our macho image, doesn't want to say sorry and admit that we are in the wrong kung kita naman makasala. If we are in the position of committing the same mistake. I guess it's more of, I don't know, maybe it's more of pride in the part of some fathers or more of culture, especially in Asian and Filipino culture. Mga tatay pala, the fathers would always have this image of being macho or being a taffy. But sometimes even when they are in the wrong, they would make excuses and still maintain their rightness because, they are fathers. But not so. Not so. Not saying sorry. Again, the greatest form of inconsistency is not keeping promises. Not keeping promises. Personally, this is one of my hang-up as a child. Kung may arap ko, hindi namin na memory, if I have one not so good memory about my father, is this. Especially when we were kids and my father would promise us that on this date and on that day, he will take us to the beach. For a child, beach equals heaven. Ano yung equation mo? Beach equals heaven. Kung sa beach, high, na kulong yan. And when my father would make us a promise that on this date, he would take us to the beach, I mark the calendar and I count the days. I don't know, when you are young, you also do that. But whenever my father would make a promise to me, to my siblings, that he will take us to the beach, I mark the calendar and I count the days. Wow, 5 days na lang. Wow, 4 days na lang. And then when the day comes, my father will suddenly tell me, why may katuan ko, mainom kami sa ating mga barkada. Really breaks my heart. And you know what? Sometimes I have this, mindset that his barkada is more important. His friends are more important to us. His family more so his children. My friends, if you are here and you are a father, be very careful. Be very careful when you make promises. When you make promises, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay, as Jesus would say it. And sometimes, if there are times nga ang imo promises hindi mo ma-keep, if there are times that you cannot keep your promise on that same day and on that same time, be very careful that you make it 200%. If you want to make it up for your child. Kung mag-make up ka, i-double mo ang imo pag-make up na malimtan niya ang imo broken promises in the past. My friends, be very careful when you make your promise so as not to break it. So as not to break it. Maybe for you as a father, maybe for you as a parent, wala lang ni daring. It doesn't mean a thing, but for a child, dako niya nga bagay, promises from a parent, most especially coming from a father, is very important. Inconsistency. Inconsistency. And so what lessons can we learn out of it? Number one, try to make a basic standard of what is right and what is wrong and stick to that. Be consistent. If you don't want your child to curse, don't curse. Maybe an example. If he curses in public, don't appreciate him, don't laugh at him. Call your attention even before your friends in a nice way. Be consistent. Number two, part of being consistent is when you disagree with your spouse in the mode of discipline, talk it over privately. Don't argue in front of the child. This sending a mixed signal of good guy, bad guy parenting. Mayo pa si nanay. Walang kapanghanot sa tatay. Doon mo na pala. Doon ang yaya equation sa imo is father equals belt. Or father equals spanking. Don't send a mixed signal among your kids. Be consistent. When you make mistakes, be humble enough to admit it. And say sorry. Apologizing to a child is not a sign of weakness, but strength and maturity. Strength and maturity. Sometimes we don't say sorry. Amo pa niya ang problema. We just compensate it with gifts. And my friends, it is wrong. Kung kaisablan mo, tapos ka makapanghanot, nahuya ka magsiling sorry. Instead you say, oh, you dress up, we will go to SM, and we will buy whatever gifts you want to buy. Oh. Instead of saying straight sorry, you compensate them with gifts. Nabalang ko na kung kagabi ng maghagda ay kabla, oh, ari, pikaset. Kamanyos to. Napasay kilala ko. Being inconsistent. Another tough mistake that father make is bribery. Bribery. Bribery is different from rewards and consequence. There are parents who uses this award system, reward and consequence, in disciplining their child. If you make up your room, you gain some points. And when Christmas comes, you can convert these points to peso, and you can buy whatever you want to buy with your peso. Making up your room, that's 10 points. Doing good in class, keeping up with your assignments, that's another 10 points. And ang checking system is on a weekly basis. Sometimes weekly basis, sometimes randomly. 10 points on a weekly basis, but randomly times 3. So you get 30 points if your mom or your dad checks your room and it is, made up. It's speck and span, it's clean. When it will be checked randomly and it is speck and span, you get what? Times 3 of the 10 points. When you do good in school, you will be getting so on and so forth. But if you fail to make up your room, minus 10 points if it is on schedule, and minus 30 points as well if it is random. Rewards and consequence. There are some parents who uses this award system, in disciplining their children. But my friends, bribery is different from rewards and consequence. Trying to bribe a child to behave in a certain way by promising a reward only teaches a child that they get a prize if they act inappropriately first and then change their behavior to get the reward. May mga bata, ang malakong kaisa, kaulumol, no? Nablang kahit ningon, ginanilaga sa kahit ka mo sa jeep, nilamuda mo pasahero, or may bisita ka pala nga, boss, mukhang magsinapan man. And then when you glance at them sideways and you look at them with a sharp look just like this, hindi pa na parents hindi. Kaya ano tayo? Daman na tayo. Tayo hindi mo, hindi na kailangan lang mo, bisita o araw sa jeep. Ano man. Some parents would bribe them just for them to behave. Here's 20 pesos. You go out there and you buy soda or you buy soft drinks or you buy biscuits. Sige na, biscuits. What na to? Hindi ka diyan na magbalik ha. Kaya istorya pa kami yan. Then what the child would do, he would go out, he would buy soda, he would buy biscuits, and after the soda and the biscuits gone, he would again act inappropriately for another 20 pesos. Bilin ko na sa mga tatay kag nanay pala. Kanito! Di pa di na. Di pa yan, di na. Manong ko na, magaling bisita ko rin. Mare, sige, sunod Mare. Manong ko rin, magaling ko sa Mare, naman mo na. Bata ka pangalot. Some of us, to save face before our bosses or to save face in public, we would rather resort to bribery rather than drawing lines. Be consistent with, our application of discipline. Bribery. This is one of the mistakes that we make as parents. The last but not the lesson plan. What lesson can we learn out of this? Look for a good child discipline alternative. If you don't want to use rewards and consequence, if you don't want to shame yourself and your child publicly, look for alternative child discipline approach. Be creative. Remind the children how it feels good to make the right choices. And simply give them the predetermined positive consequences for positive behavior. Talk to them in advance. We will be going to the house of my Maria or my Paria. When we get there, you greet her, good afternoon, you kiss your tito and your tita, and then you behave appropriately, ha? Happy ko bala. Your dad, your mom feels proud, feels happy when you obey us. The Lord is smiling on us in heaven when you obey these texts, these simple texts. And you know what? If you develop this, it will become a habit in you. You tell them how it feels good to do the right things. How it feels good to always make the right choices, the right decisions in life. And not just bribe them if they behave inappropriately. Inconsistency, bribery. And then the last but not the least, excessive guilt tripping. Excessive guilt tripping. Ano yung mga excessive guilt tripping? Dumapatay na mo ni sa ubra, sa patay-patay yung mangitan ang pagkaon nyo. Tanan na lang ginahimo ko, abot na payuan ka mo mapapa-eskwila ka mo, tapos ano man yung balos nyo sa akon? Ano yung pala ang problema, ha? Wala ka lang maginugasan ng pinggan na kinanaan niya. Amo lang man to actually, pinggan naman ang problema, pero grabe pa lang ang guilt tripping. I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you also have this tendency na parang may basic ang litanya pala. May basic spiel ka when you lecture your children. Or sometimes you would say things like this. Saan gamay kami sa una? Saan gamay kami sa una? Hindi sa una maman to yan. Saan gamay maman ka po kaya? Hindi na ginakumpara niyo mo yun sa... Salamat ka ni kamuya subong kay kasakay ka mo. Kung sa una yan, 3 kilometro yung amon ginalakan. Ako na mga kanto kami sa eskwelahan. Tapos wala pa kaya kami balon. Ako yung kaubra, kuya ako nakabalon. Praise the Lord, subong. Ang mo bata, may balon na. But sometimes you don't have to, go into excessive guilt tripping just to make your point. Hindi man guro, hindi naman guro kinahanglan. Gamo man ka muna, gamo ko na kung kaisa mo. Maybe, let me share to you my spirit. Let me share to you my heart. You know, growing up in our times, growing up in our generation is very different. Lain niya sa una. And guys, you know, at my age, with my age, do you also agree with me? Na sa una, in spite of the generation that we have gone through, wala pa taga-reklamo, no? Wala pa taga-reklamo, do we enjoy? When we were growing up, we make our own toys. We play in the streets. Okay man, to satya man, to enjoy man, subong kabataan, alam na sila tanan, reklamo pa. Reklamo. Reklamo. And so sometimes, I cannot blame the parents as well, especially the fathers, if they go into this excessive guilt tripping. Though life was so simple then, and we had our time. Sadya man, okay man. Doon wala man gani ng piniriklamo, pero mga kabataan na subong, I'm not talking to all, ha? Ang ako niya sa ako niya nabatian, na experience siya bala, may tendency yung magreklamo permi. Everything is, you know, right there, aras kubangan lang, pero instead of being grateful and thankful, they always think, you know, na ang ginapangita nila yung bala, ang wala sa ila, kagkagkagkag wala na sa ila, they would complain and keep on complaining and keep on bickering. Ang mga parents man, on the other hand, kung mag-amon na ka dialogue sa balay, kakanto man yung excessive guilt tripping. Excessive guilt tripping. What lesson can we learn out of this? Stay away from guilt tripping and just approach the consequences. If you are applying the rewards and consequences thing and he has not made up for his room, just deduct 30 points. That's just it. Or for example, may gamit ka, if you maintain some kind of tools sa imo balay, and you have a teen boy or a teen girl who sometimes borrow or uses your tools pero walang ginabalik sa imo bulutangan, by a padlock your tools. Hindi na magamit, di ba? Just impose the appropriate consequences. Don't go through lecturing or go through excessive guilt tripping. Wrapping up things. I want to speak to the fathers who are here this afternoon. Maybe you are an older father or you are already a lolo. Maybe you are here and looking back, you feel inadequate. Maybe you have this feeling that how you wished you raised your children the right way, or how you wish that you have learned these things a long time ago, or how you wish you could have done it the other way around. If you are here and you are an older father or a lolo or a senior father, I want to encourage you. While you may not be able to bring back the past, there is still a chance that you can correct your future. My friends, we are all products of our past, but we are not prisoners of it. There is still a great chance for us to correct the future, especially with our own children, this time with our own family, this time in their generation. Maybe most of you were raised very differently from most fathers in this generation. Maybe there are many very good disciplinary approach that you have learned in your time. But maybe you have also experienced very hard corporal punishments during your time. Example, kung sa una yung usugin niya, no, makasala, pinasulot sa sako, no, ginahanod, no. I don't know if you have gone through that kind of physical abuse. Pero lang, isulod ka sa sako as a child if you have committed something wrong, especially sa uma pala, isulod ka sa sako, ipakabiton mo sa sako, gaghanuton. I have playmates, I have grown up with playmates who have experienced the same thing. Isulod ka sa sako, part. The feeling itself, suffocated ka. Ay na mo. The feeling itself, being enclosed in the dark, ay na mo. How much more being hanged and beaten? I have grown up with playmates having experienced such kind of physical abuse. Or lang pitayon suli. I cannot forget a neighbor, his name is Roy. He's Roy. As a young child, yung mga naughtiness pala nga, pangawat sa apple, pangawat paligyan sa tiyanggi. And the young boy, Roy, was suspected to have stolen something out from the neighbor's store. And with the mother, I cannot forget that I was 3 or 4 years old then, but I can still remember the name of the family. Their faces are still embedded, in my mind. The name of the mother is Nelda, and the name of the eldest son is Roy. You know what Nelda did? The mother did? He got Roy, nagbuha siya sa plastic. Yung plastic pala, when you put a plastic in the flame, the plastic melts. And she got Roy's hand, ipatulog to ang plastic sa kamot ni Roy. Even the neighbors intervened. Even the neighbors intervened with Nelda, trying to stop her from causing such pain to Roy, only because Roy got suspected of stealing something. Wala pa man gani yan na-establish na si Roy gid man ang nangawag. Grabe. Di ko na malipat. Purified ko mo. Imagine, patuluan plastic ang kamot mo. Si Roy siguro sa kamot ng mga time, to mga 4 or 5 years old man. Same my age. Grabe ang abuse. Maybe you are here, my friend. You are also a father and you have gone through such horror, such physical abuse in life. If you will not be careful, I tell you, you will always have this tendency to repeat it in your own family, in your own children, in their generation. Let me encourage you, 2 things. Number 1, let go of the past. Let go of the past. Past is past. While we are all products of our past, we are not prisoners of it. Number 2, learn to forgive. Forgive your own father, maybe, who have caused you such kind of abuses just like this. Forgive your own father. Maybe ari ka di ka bear ka man grapon sa grudge sa imo father. It won't help, bro. It won't help. For your own sake. Not for his sake, but for your own sake. Let go of the past and learn to forgive. I believe if you're going to recall, your father in one way or another have also tried his best to be a good father man sa imo, maski once lang. Maski twice lang. But just like the title of our message this afternoon, our fathers, they are not in heaven. Their names are not hallowed. Just like them, just like us, they also made mistakes. Maybe they are also sincere, but just like us, walang ginaya. I believe most of them were also good fathers in one way or another, who just tried to discipline you with the knowledge that they have. Maybe with the same discipline that they also experienced from their own parents, but their goal is only to make you become a better person someday. But because they're also sinners, they also have this tendency to repeat the same mistake over and over again. My friends, let go of the past and forgive your own father. Next, I want to talk to the children who are here this afternoon. Just like as I have talked to the father, maybe you are here, you are a child, and you have gone through such physical abuse as well in the past. Again, 2 things. Let go of the past and learn to forgive. It's not easy to be a father, A lot of things are expected from you. Someday, kung ikaw naman ang magtatay, mabalaan mo na. Mabalaan mo. Sometimes we are just, damo kita higubunkot sa aton mga amay. Well, I don't know. Ako, may mga higubunkot ako sa aton amay. Kung damo ako namin ang memories, balance lang. I mean, di ba? Aton na mga tatay, imperfect as they are, maybe at one time, in one way or another, they have also tried to be good fathers as well. If you are here and you have been a victim of child abuse, I know I hand that it will not be easy for you, but for your own sake and for your own good. If you want to be a good father someday, if you want not to repeat the same mistake that your father have made in their own time and in their own generation, let go of the past, learn to forgive. Lastly, I would like to speak to the mothers, to the wives who are here this afternoon. Maybe some of you here are single moms, some of you here are widows, some of you here are wives of OFW and seaman's wives. Hindi ko pala ka-relate. I cannot relate with you how hard it is to stand as a mother and as a father to your children. Budlay gani mag-father, mother pa. Hindi ko ka-relate how hard it is for you coming home na ikaw lang isa sa inyong balay. Wala ko yung imubana. Sometimes wala kung kapoy ka na, bata ko pa sa away, kan ikaw lang nayahanod sa iyo, hindi ka po niya mag-istid-chindi. Kapoy ka na mo. If you are here, and you are a mother, you are a wife, I don't know, medyo mabulubudlay na sa inyo. But as we celebrate Father's Day today, ang ato nga focus, para ng anay sa mga tatay. And so if you are here and you are a mother and you are a wife, pray for your husband. Pray for the father of your children. Hindi man ni amuni kahapos sa ila. Kung budlay sa imo, budlay manigulo sa ila kalayo sa pamilya. No? Especially kung OFW wife ka pala or seaman's wives ka. How they wish siguro nga pag-graduation sa mga anak nila, harap man sila. Pag-ibo sa mga anak nila, harap man sila. Tiwala. For some reasons, they are out of the country trying to earn a living, not only for you, but also for the family. And so balance lang, timbang-timbang. But for all of us celebrating Father's Day today, I hope that we can sympathize with our fathers. I hope that, we will look at things in their own shoes, in their own perspective, and not only self-centered, as we always used to be. For the fathers who are here this afternoon, God bless you. God bless your fathers.